Fuma now is going to our reporter Nkobila Madlala, who's standing by at the Durban Results Centre. Taps, take it away for us.
Well, Nkobila is in Durban, and that's where the DA has made inroads in some significant areas. Nkobila, before we get to the inroads that the DA has made, speak to me about the counting process and where Durban is now. According to the ICC's statement, they're one of the provinces where counting is at between 55% and 69%. How far are they?
Well, the counting is slowly just dragging, as you see, slowly just numbers trickling in. I mean, we know that there's some municipalities at this point that still hasn't been accounted for, but we know other areas like Abakulusi also still have some numbers and other numbers not there. Other areas like Umvot is still not there at all. But I want to bring it back to IFP, where we know that the numbers that have trickled in already are the numbers that make you happy. How are you feeling as a party at this point?
Well, good morning to you and to your viewers. We are extremely elated with the official results that are coming through so far that have been recorded here at The Rock. But we are getting unofficial results from our party agents and from people on the ground, which shows an even bigger upward trend for the IFP, and that is indeed very, very pleasing for us.
But is this the upward trend that you were hoping for? I mean, I know IFP has been waiting to get more numbers in this municipality. I mean, in this local elections. I mean, when we spoke to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, he was quite confident that he will be getting more numbers. Is this what you were expecting?
Well, it's more than what we expected, because I think so far we might have more than doubled the number of municipalities that we were in control. We're very pleased that in areas like in the south of KwaZulu-Natal, in the Ugu region, in Mzumbe, where we had 6 councillors before, we now got 13 councillors, so that's more than 100% increase. And this upward trajectory augurs well for us as 2024 looms around the corner.
All right, but at Dumbe, of course, going to NFP, and where there's IFP, there seems to be NFP, because this is a breakaway party from you. How are you feeling about that?
Well, good luck to the NFP. I think they worked hard. They had to focus in possibly 1 or 2 areas around the province, unlike us. And, well, good luck to them, but they've got 6 seats there, which doesn't put them anywhere near a majority. We'd just like to see who they want to work with to ensure that there's good governance in a Dumba municipality. And that's something we wait and see.
But of course, when we were in the north of KZN, in the northern of KZN, and I mean, this is where you are mostly dominant as a party. Most people, they're talking about service delivery being the major issue. In fact, when we were in eNCA, they were talking about water, they were talking about lights, they were talking about roads being dusty and very difficult to get to. We ourselves had such an issue driving to eNCA, where the former President Zuma was going to. So now, how are you going to change this?
Well, I think even in those areas, yes, we've got challenges, but by and large, water provision at a bulk level resides with the district. And now that we've got the King Ketchwayo district under our belt, I think we can see much more service delivery in terms of water. The local municipalities only have a responsibility to reticulate water within their respective municipality, but it's the districts. So now we're taking more districts, and we're amazed at the number of districts that are now under our control. I'm sure working with national government and getting the kind of resources that we really deserve, water provision and the lack of water is going to be something of the past in all these areas that we run. With electricity, the same thing happens. It's the municipalities that have to motivate for reticulation in their areas, and here too we have been pretty successful in many of our areas as far as electricity is concerned. Roads also, you get provincial roads and national roads. Well, obviously there you get provincial roads, and I think we have to be more aggressive with provincial authorities to ensure that they take their responsibility as seriously as we would take ours, in ensuring that the inner roads in municipalities are attended to expeditiously.
But what I want to know more about that is the strategy. What is the strategy? Because yes, we can say that we will ensure that that happens, but that's just it. I mean, when we're speaking to the people on the ground, they were saying that they're worried about the promises that have been made to them in the past, but no implementation has been seen. So what is exactly the strategy that you have in hand?
Well, power gives you the ability to do more. Now that we have the power and we have a vote of confidence from the people in the area, if one looks at the manifesto that we put out, I think we were one of the few parties that has had a solution-orientated manifesto. We had all our candidates signed to a pledge. And I can assure you that as a national campaign manager, I will play a major role in ensuring that all these mayors and councillors account to respective divisions within our party. We monitor what they're doing, we audit what they're doing, so that they keep up to the pledge that we as a party have made generally and they have made specifically to voters in the area. And that is going to be something that's going to help us considerably, because we want to show as we come to 2024 that yes, you put this confidence in us and now we've shown you how we've delivered at that level. Give us your faith in 2024 to take control of KwaZulu-Natal province in particular.
All right, I like that you're saying that you are going to be holding them accountable. I mean, there's something that's been dubbed now a million rand T. I don't know if IFP will be looking into that, because there's been issues around finances in the area in the northern of KwaZulu-Natal.
No, that was absolute, and I think I can use this word on television. It's in the dictionary, absolute balderdash for people to suggest that that's what happened. It did not happen. The mayor of ZDM explained himself. He produced documentation, and I can bet my bottom dollar, and I don't have many, my bottom run, and I don't have many, that there will be no investigation now. It was just an election ploy by the MEC at that time with no substantiation, and I think it's just going to die a natural death. But we have figures to prove that there was no thing such as a million rand T. But what there was a very, very positive interaction with the business communities in and around eThekwini. And we're going to encourage all our district mayors to come into eThekwini, because eThekwini is economic hub. Go into Richards Bay, it's economic hub, and speak to investors in those areas and encourage them to come out to the rural outlying areas and invest. Invest in shopping malls, invest in water reticulation systems, invest in solar energy, invest in building houses for the private sector. That is what we are going to do. Go out and market those municipalities so we can get people to come and invest there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Singh speaking to us there about what IFP is hoping to contribute as it goes forward. That's, of course, if when the numbers are already done counting, that IFP gets as many as they are currently seen to be holding.
Oh, thank you so much. Ngobile Madlala out in KZN with Naran Singh from the IFP. That's who she was talking to there, and he was saying they are over the moon. They got more support than they expected. From KZN, let's go to Pretoria. Gareth is with TK Pui to discuss the results reported so far, the impact that coalitions will have on municipalities as well. Pui is a policy analyst at the Wits School of Governance. Gareth?
All right, Tafuma, thank you very much indeed. Just a quick reminder before we speak to well-known analyst TK Pue about what he thinks has been happening so far with the numbers and where they're possibly going to go. Just a reminder, coming up at 10 o'clock at the venue just behind me here at the NROC, the National Results Operations Centre, we are expecting a media briefing from the HSRC, of course, the Human Sciences Research Council. I understand this is going to be a report on the 2021 election satisfaction survey. So how satisfied is the HSRC with how the elections have been run from both political parties, those who voted, and also the IEC. That briefing expected to get underway in about 15 minutes or so from now. So it's good to have you with us here at the National Results Operations Centre. Let's just remind you of the overall picture very quickly as far as results are concerned. I'll quickly look behind me. We're now at about 69% of all the votes that have been brought in around the country, so we're still quite a way off of that 90%. I'll just give you a quick national picture of who is leading. At the moment, we have the ANC on 46.3%, the Democratic Alliance on 22.18%, so 22.18%. Work further down the list. I'm looking for the EFF, still in third place, 10.27%. Then we have the IFP and Carter Freedom Party at 4.6%, and the Freedom Front Plus, or Vryheidsfront Plus, 2.62%, and the Patriotic Alliance at 1.02%. So that's the overall picture around South Africa as we head up to 9:45 this morning. But a huge pleasure, as always, TK Pue. Good to have you with us here on eNCA. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm curious to get your thoughts, though, before we unpack coalitions and hung councils, all those very complicated terms. Voter turnout. How shocked were you by this low number?
Not really shocked. I remember writing an article saying if you had to typify, I had to put a coin in this election, what would it be? And I said it's the election of the unknown, the known unknowns. We knew what each political party was going to stand for. What we didn't know is how were the voters going to react. And the fact that you gave South Africans a long weekend just really added further weight to the fact that, listen, why should I really take care? Why should I really care? But I think most important is the issue that, look, lots of citizens have been saying that we are not satisfied for a very long time. And I think that's why people just said, listen, you say I must go vote, and voting is a good thing. I'm all for voting. But what am I getting in return? Well, for the last 2 decades, what I've been getting is poorly run municipalities and a poor economy, and most of these municipalities are not able to generate the type of economic development we need. So then why do I really need to take my time to go make sure that you keep living a plush life?
The problem with that, and I'm not disagreeing with you, not for 1 second, the anger and resentment, one could argue, from the voters is somebody needs to lead. You know, you could have 100 people who pitch up at the polls, and they're going to end up deciding who is going to be in charge of the resources for the rest of us. So what do you say to someone who's decided they no longer want to go out and vote? It's a voter apathy, voter absenteeism, if you will. So what do you say to someone who says, look, I'm not going to bother voting, I'm not getting what I want anyway? But how does that help the situation?
Well, I'd say 2 things to them. First, I'd say, listen, if you're dissatisfied, are you dissatisfied only with the fact that we've got poor political parties? Let's make that distinction. I'd like to believe most South Africans are unhappy with political parties. And then the second thing is to say, okay, post this, what are you going to do? And I think one of the things we don't do enough in South Africa as citizens, we don't actually say, listen, are we involved in our ward committees? You're right in saying somebody is leading my ward, whether I voted or not. How are you going to hold that person accountable? And I think until we move to that next transition where we as citizens start to say, listen, you, ward member or a PR person, come to the meeting we are calling. Tell us what is happening. Until we do that, then we're basically going to be held captive to these people. And you cannot keep saying, listen, I'm not going to vote for an eternity. Because as you're saying, eternity will keep giving you an answer, and the answer might be the wrong one.
Do you think we like convenient elections and convenient politics in this country? We don't want to work very hard for it. We don't want to necessarily, after a long weekend or part of a long weekend, stand in the queues. We don't want to go to the ward councillor meetings. Do you think we're starting as South Africans to become a case of, well, we voted for you, we expect you to do your job, and my job as the electorate is done. I don't want to be involved. Are we seeking convenient elections?
I go with the latter. I think, look, South Africans do, in most instances, they do go out. So I don't think it's one of convenience. I think it's an issue of more irritation and, look, where's the country going type of thing. But I do agree with you on the second point, which is to say, I think we do too much of, I've put my X, I've done my job, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, hashtag, I'm done. But we don't want to do the hard yards of saying, listen, once this is done, let's form the walk committee and let's hold these people accountable. Because for me, that's the maturation we need. And until we have that, what we're simply going to do is have a lot of what I term, you know, keyboard warriors really setting the agenda, but we're just so far behind. And I think that's where we need to get to. Because one thing I did see in these elections is, I'm sure you've interviewed the politicians, most of them are actually quite disappointed people didn't turn out. They're actually bleeding. If you listen to what Paul Mashatile said yesterday, you could visibly see he's at pain to say, wow, people really are that tired of us. And I think we need to use that moment.
Last question to you. Time is against us. I had Simon Mabolo, Chief Electoral Officer, with me not too long ago, about an hour and a half ago, and not passing the blame by any means or stretch of the imagination, saying COVID hasn't helped. The changing of the election dates hasn't helped in getting political parties to be able to garner the support that we would have traditionally seen in the past to get numbers out. How much weight do you think that justification, I don't want to use the word excuse, that justification holds?
I take a different tact on it. Are people voting for the IEC or people voting for political parties? My job is to say, listen, every 5 years I need to organize that. We can critique them on that they've not done a great job. They've not given us options like using technology or even using the postal services like in other countries. There, I think we should blame them to bits. But we should never say, listen, it's the job of the IEC to say, hey, turn out. That's the job of political parties because we're voting for them, not the IEC.
Well, I appreciate your time. Always good to have you with us. TK Pua, always a fantastic analyst to have with us, not just in the elections and the build-up to elections, but also the results afterwards as well. Always good to get the thoughts of TK Pua. So a quick reminder before I take you back to Studio 1 at our Hyde Park headquarters with TAPS and eNCA coming up in about 10 minutes from now, the HSRC preliminary report on the election satisfaction survey. How satisfied are you about the way the elections have been run, and how satisfied is the HSRC? We're going to find out in 10 minutes from now here from NROC TAPS as I come back to you for the moment.
Thank you, Gareth. Like he said, that media briefing scheduled to start just after 10 o'clock. The election